Imagine living through the same nightmare over and over again because people just refuse to learn. Sound familiar? Well, that's exactly what's happening right now. We figured out that vaccines are compulsory for optimum living decades ago, but apparently some folks decided that learning from history is optional. But here's the thing, refusing vaccines isn't some new wave of enlightenment. It's literally dragging us back to an era when people are unalived from disease who now have the tools to stop. Alright, let's get down to basics. Here's how vaccines actually work. And I promise it's cooler than it sounds. Your immune system is like a trained sniffer police dog. Vaccines are the scent cloth given to the dog to help you track a thief. When a virus shows up, would you prefer for your personal attack dog to have a scent to follow, or for it to go around in circles with no idea what to do because it can't pick up a scent? Our immune system is awesome, but if it's never seen a particular enemy before, it kinda sucks at fighting it. That's where vaccines come in. They're essentially handing your immune system a most wanted post of the virus. So next time it shows up, your body's knights are ready to wreck it before it even gets through the gate. No infection, no disease, and you're away like a total badass. For those refusing vaccines because they want a more natural organic lifestyle, here's the kicker. We have been vaccinating ourselves for centuries, way before we had microscopes or sterile labs. In ancient China around the 10th century, people would literally grind up smallpox scabs and blow the powder into each other's noses. I know it's super gross, but the idea was to give them a mild version of the disease so their immune system could recognize it and fight off future infections. It sounds medieval because it was, but it worked. And while Europe was figuring out that leeches and bloodletting wasn't a cure-all, African communities are already pioneering forms of vaccination. In the 1600s and earlier, Africans practiced variolation, which means taking material from smallpox sores and scratching it into the skin of healthy people. It was risky, sure, but it massively reduced death rates. In fact, when smallpox hit Boston in 1721, a man named Onesimus, an enslaved African, told his owner Cotton Mather about the practice. Mather brought the idea to local doctors, and guess what? The death rate among the inoculated was only 2%, compared to 14% among the unprotected. Africans were practicing effective disease prevention centuries before modern science caught up. Actually, on a side note, this practice led to HIV being such a problem when it finally came around, because we were so used to cutting each other up to prevent diseases, and the knives we were using to do this were being shared. But now these modern vaccination procedures are more sterile than just sharing knives, which is better. Fast forward to the 1700s. Edward Jenner noticed that milkmaids who got cowpox, a mild disease, didn't seem to catch smallpox. So Jenner did what any good scientist would do. He scraped pus from a cowpox sore and injected it into a kid. The kid got a little sick but didn't die. Then Jenner exposed him to smallpox and nothing happened. Today this would be considered crude and illegal, but that was the birth of the modern vaccine. The word vaccine even comes from Vaxxer, the Latin word for cow. Now, instead of cow pustules or scab powder, we've got cutting-edge mRNA technology, which is such an upgrade. mRNA vaccines teach your body to recognize the virus's signature and wipe it out before it can make you sick. Less medieval grossness, more scientific precision. mRNA vaccines like the COVID-19 one rose up because the old method of weakening parasites and using them for vaccines could fail. One time the poliovirus was not properly weakened before being used in the vaccine, leading to a polio epidemic. mRNA is a small portion of a parasite that cannot cause disease on its own, so such accidents can never happen again, and mRNA vaccines are actually such a great leap for human health. But despite literally centuries of success, some people have decided that gut feelings and Facebook memes are more reliable than medical science. The result? Measles, which basically wiped out, is coming back. And even polio that had completely disappeared, is resurfacing. Kids are being deleted by preventable diseases because their parents are more afraid of a needle than a coffin. And to be fair, vaccines can have side effects, but that's never really about a vaccine. Remember, vaccines are just a scent cloth that is given to the police dog, our immune system. These side effects usually come from how the police dog reacts to the thief when it eventually catches the thief. Some police dogs will bite the neck and instantly unalive the thief. Others will be more gentle, so that's what happens in those cases where people get side effects. And at the end of the day, vaccines are also not perfect, but they have really helped us survive. Our ancestors who lived without vaccines never managed to get to a population of 1 billion human beings. So yes, they are not perfect because nothing is. But without them, we would not be here, literally. Another argument is that it's not natural. But yeah, neither is wearing clothes, driving cars, or using antibiotics, but here we are. Another claim people like to say is vaccines cause autism. But no, they don't. That myth came from a fraudulent study that's been thoroughly debunked, but it's somehow still haunting us. Anti-vaxxers also like claiming that they'll build natural immunity. Sure, but building natural immunity to smallpox in the 1700s meant you had a 30% chance of being unalived first. The measles vaccine, for example, has a 100% chance of working. That's a 0% chance of being unalived. We have really come far and we really should not forget this. This isn't just about personal choice. When enough people skip vaccines, herd immunity breaks down. That puts vulnerable people like newborns, cancer patients, the elderly at risk. In 2019, a measles outbreak in the US infected over 1,200 people, most of them unvaccinated children. In Samoa in 2019 again, an unnecessary measles epidemic killed 83 people, most of them babies under 5, thanks to the conservative hero RFK Jr. And in the Democratic Republic of Congo, over 6,000 people were unalived from measles in 2019 again. 6,000 from a disease we already know how to prevent. So here's the deal. Vaccines work. The only reason we're not constantly being deleted by smallpox, diphtheria and polio is because we embraced science. Rejecting vaccines isn't a personal choice. It's choosing to drag the rest of us back to the dark ages. Our ancestors used scabs and pus to fight disease. We've got better tools now. Conservatives are choosing a future without vaccines as we speak. They are forgetting that we cannot survive without them and we have never been able to do so. But those who do not pay attention to history are doomed to repeat it. And unfortunately, the only victims of the anti-vax talk are young children, a vulnerable population that actually needs help. Because most adults were born under a vaccine mandate and are properly protected. Measles, for example, is akin to an asthma without its vaccine. Imagine dooming children to take it on without support. All that anti-vaxxers are doing with all this is promising us a more liberal world. They are willingly putting themselves on a path to their own maximum unaliving, but they somehow cannot see this.